Hello and welcome to Get Wisdom. This is Carl Mollison, founder and director of the Get Wisdom Project, the outreach to help heal and save humanity. We're missing Brian Kelly at the moment. He's having some technical issues and perhaps he'll join us along the way. So I'll have to carry the ball, but I've got Creator to back me up. So I'm not worried. You're in for some good information, I think. We're talking about how our Lightworker Healing Protocol can benefit the current pandemic with COVID-19, the coronavirus that's spreading here and there and everywhere. This is a potential problem for many, many, many people. And it's important to understand such things because this is not a unique situation. It's simply the latest. So we've been talking for a good year now about the Lightworker Healing Protocol, the healing outreach we can do on your behalf, and what it's all about and how it works a bit. And we thought we'd use the example of the coronavirus to get into some details about how this protocol could be of help. So I want to share with you some channelings I've done with Creator of All It Is in answer to such questions. So I will be sharing Creator's words. And let's start with the first question we asked. Before anyone had even heard of COVID-19, Creator had been saying that humanity collectively faced a survival dilemma it would be unable to solve on its own. That human survival was a divine-level problem. This might have sounded incredible to most folks until confronted with this new collective threat. If people are not desperately in search of hope, any hope for a positive future, they soon will be. Can Creator share why the Lightworker Healing Protocol and collective prayer are the first line of defense and maybe the only realistic beacons of hope? And this is what Creator answered. The many viral scourges happening down through the ages and the new threat facing humanity currently are a true scourge. They are not part of Creator's plan. They are an attack on humanity wholesale to cause widespread death and destruction. Human ingenuity and technologies have not been able to surmount the problem of viral infection for the most part. There are some drug agents as a holding action for specific viral conditions, but this is a product of many years of research, and it will take extreme good fortune for a rapid therapeutic agent to be developed quickly enough to stem the tide for the current dilemma. As is true for all human suffering, divine solutions are often better because they are gentler, they are specific, and they can heal the problem on a much deeper level than simply fighting symptoms, which is the intention in many cases with medicines. Because it is straightforward to have the divine realm remove a virus from a person's body, this makes prayer, as well as the Lightworker Healing Protocol, a superb tool as a first line of defense, faced with the current situation as an example of a serious threat from an infectious agent. This will do a deeper and more thorough job than having to fight to keep the person alive once infected, and then hope they are not reinfected before a drug inhibitor becomes available, which can take years of research effort and then still may have serious drawbacks from side effects and variable efficacy. Prayer has limitations because of lack of belief, not that the divine lacks power to do anything requested on the behalf of humans doing an outreach. To be sure, anything you want of the divine must be asked for specifically, and then must be done by a requester with 100% belief in the divine and belief in themselves as well. Both are areas of weakness for most humans at this point, in particular because of the secular movement, eroding confidence in religion, and the undermining of faith in so many people, leaving them completely on their own and vulnerable to many difficulties for which they could get divine support, guidance, healing, and protection. People can live a better life, a happier life, a more successful life, and a longer life when they engage in regular prayer requests to the divine. From a foundation of inner faith, they will be listened to, and assisted. It may be difficult for many who are out of practice or never exposed to religious concepts, but this is not beyond the reach of anyone because people are inherently spiritual. It is your origin and your birthright both. It is more a matter of reawakening an inner awareness of your origin than bringing forth something so completely foreign that it would be impossible to achieve. The secret to cultivating faith is inner desire to have it. And this can be facilitated, ironically, through prayer for assistance with faith building, and this will be supported. So that has some interesting elements in it, some interesting twists and turns. Lots of people have drifted away from religion. The secular movement has taken a toll. And this is when you notice that you're naked and alone all of a sudden, when something larger than human force or energy comes along. It's true for natural disasters as well. If you've got a hurricane bearing down on you, or you're in an earthquake zone, or you're in the middle of a tornado spawning storm, there are times for all of us when divine assistance makes sense. And this is making the point. All of your life long, you can have a stream of benefits through partnering with the divine. So there's no reason to wait for a disaster. And in fact, that's the worst thing to do because it's hard to come from behind, especially having enough belief and confidence that you can reach out, you will be heard, that God is real and will help you. The time to act is now and cultivate that belief. And we do have a prayer in our free download prayer book at getwisdom.com/prayer. And it helps cultivate belief in the divine. And that's the first one on the list because a lot of people need that. There's no shame in being in that state of being. We're all here in coming in a difficult environment that has many challenges to believe. All right, so let's keep going. The next question is, one of the major tasks of the Lightworker Healing Protocol is the removal of dark spirit attachments. We are hearing stories of people intentionally spitting and spreading possibly infected bodily fluids in public places. Is this largely a result of dark spirit attachment influence? Does the Extraterrestrial Alliance encourage this behavior as well? How can the Lightworker Healing Protocol help to deal with this problem? And Creator tells us all of these things are true. As with all bad conduct, such as criminal behavior and much human negativity, there is an inner inspiration through programming from dark demonic beings attached to humans and hectoring them deep within their mind below conscious awareness. This can corrupt the being to a large degree and even tip the balance to engage in acts of depravity and criminal conduct of all kinds if a person is vulnerable enough. When you see people acting in a way that is harmful to others, there is always a deeper corruption that can be traced back to influence from the dark spirit cohort and or the Extraterrestrial Alliance. The extraterrestrial cabal that controls the earth from behind the scenes through human minions they program and manipulate. They also commandeer dark spirits and command them to carry out campaigns of destruction from within the minds of people to foment conflicts and strife at multiple levels of society. The behavior you describe is a perfect example of personal depravity inspired by dark beings working against love and light. Such individuals need to be rescued from the corruptive influence, and that can be done through using the Lightworker Healing Protocol to remove the offending spirit attachments and begin to repair the negative beliefs instilled in them to inspire such twisted thinking. Okay, so that's a good example of the work we've been doing right along with the Lightworker Healing Protocol to help remove this scourge from people. And it cleans up their act. It helps them be their true selves and stop indulging in bad conduct, selfish conduct, harmful conduct. If we keep this going, we'll win the day. And that's what's needed. More people doing prayer, more people using the Lightworker Healing Protocol. All right, let's keep going. The Lightworker Healing Protocol has been used successfully to do property clearings. We have a collective prayer to ask for the removal of the virus from the earth. But can this request be added to the Lightworker Healing Protocol to ask for removal of the virus from items and surfaces at specific locations? And Creator answers, this is certainly the case. The Lightworker Healing Protocol can be used for any target, and this can be specified by the practitioner to be a local concern or a personal concern for their practitioners themselves. The protocol is designed to work on the problems of the world on a larger scale, but the protocol is set up first to help the practitioner as a blessing for doing their duty, and then to help anyone they designate in the order listed, so it lends itself perfectly to the chief concerns of a practitioner in helping those felt to be most in need of or personal interest to the practitioner because of their closeness. That is not selfish or inappropriate. It is the exhibiting of love. Anytime anyone reaches out on behalf of another because their heart is touched, it adds an extra measure of intention to help such individuals, and the Lightworker Healing Protocol will be all the more effective for such recipients as compared to the broad collective of humanity. This is not because people are selfish. It is that everyone has a certain bias to prioritize their personal survival and that of their loved ones. It is built into the makeup of the soul to have a social fabric such that bonds of closeness are formed with those one has interactions with. This is only logical and creates an incentive and a consequence of benefit to those forming social interactions and taking part in an interchange that can help one and all achieve growth and learning. So this is all addressing the positive mechanisms used naturally by people to influence the world around them in a positive way. What affects one will benefit all, for better or worse, and that is true of all negative influences and consequences. So helping the many helps the one and vice versa. All right, so don't shy away from helping yourself. It's job one, and this is true in terms of divine principles for living as well. The first one is raise up the self with no harm to others. All right, let's keep going. The Lightworker Healing Protocol has been extremely effective in removing dark spirit attachments. Few people nowadays worry about contracting a spirit attachment, though that may have been common in the past. But most worry about contracting this virus. Can the COVID-19 virus be removed from an individual just as easily? And Creator says, this is very much the case. This virus is an interloper. It was created by interlopers and deployed deliberately to cause harm. And as such, this is the antithesis of the spreading of love, which is Creator's plan for all beings in the universe. Removing the virus directly is the best and easiest way the divine realm can be of help. But people need to be requesting this. It is the responsibility of humans themselves to run their world. If they have trouble, they can reach out to the divine, but must do so with explicit requests. They cannot simply rely on the divine realm to see what is wrong and fix it for them. That is the meaning of being in a free will paradigm where people have free agency to chart their own course, but will live and die by the decisions they make and how well they do. That is the purpose, after all, to present challenges for learning and growth. And while they may at times represent a life or death situation to resolve, the strong incentive to surmount such challenges accelerates growth and learning in proportion to the severity of the situation. You are here to learn about all such things, all the many permutations and variations on the theme of good and evil. You were created to solve the problem of evil once and for all. First, to confront its greatest manifestations, which are affecting you personally in your world today. And having overcome that challenge, move up to positions of higher reach and authority, serving as roving ambassadors throughout the universe to bring your wisdom and the hard-won lessons in dealing with a potential fall from grace, as happened to create the current world conditions you face with evil interlopers in your world. As difficult and ugly at times as human life can be, it is a testing ground and a proving ground, and will provide the foundation you need to earn your graduation to bigger and better things that will be much more a source of delight and glories of all kinds. You will likely never again have such difficult and troubling dilemmas to deal with on a personal level. This is why you have chosen to come, because it is the biggest challenge there is, and will, by virtue of its consequences, bring the biggest of rewards when you are successful. That is certainly a reason to keep going and apply yourselves to winning the fight.
I'm able to join you, Carl, finally. Sorry for my absence.
Well, we're about to go up on a break here.
Yes, we are. But yes, this last channeling is really hits home, I think, that we can, the divine can be brought in to remove this virus as easily as any other artifacts. That just needs to be requested to do so.
Absolutely. We got to start requesting. Keep requesting. Don't stop. Don't slack off. Keep asking.
Absolutely. And you can learn how to request effectively with our prayer book. Get it at getwisdom.com/prayer. You can also check out the Lightworker Healing Protocol at getwisdom.com/LHP. And we'll be back with more Get Wisdom right after this. Welcome back to the second segment of Get Wisdom. We are talking about creators' insights on using the Lightworker Healing Protocol to fight the coronavirus epidemic. It's a very serious topic, Carl, and one that's on everybody's mind.
Indeed. And we do have answers, because this is a divine level problem ultimately. Human ingenuity can really pull things off that surprise and delight. And no doubt there will be drugs available that will help people cope with symptoms and so on. And, we hope they come sooner rather than later. But the ultimate answers are often through the divine realm, because it doesn't cost you to do, and it can make a difference and bring a miracle your way. You may not recognize it because there's no way to prove what would have happened otherwise. But I can tell you, this is ongoing all the time. The divine realm is out and about, helping people right and left.
Absolutely. You asked Creator, is the problem of protecting people from this coronavirus and curing them once infected wholly one of the target individual's personal beliefs?
Yeah, their personal beliefs and how they factor in, yes. And here's what Creator tells us. It is a bit more complicated than that, but this is a big factor and the most important. Because of free will, people have become corrupted to feel vulnerable, to doubt their own strength, and in particular, to doubt the power of the divine, or the motives of the divine, or the existence of the divine as a potential influence that is real and that they can summon as a source of help. When such individuals become ill, as with this virus, they have already put handcuffs on Creator through their non-belief. So it is much harder for us to bring healing, and therefore such individuals remain a tremendous risk to all the human beings around them, because they will be on their own to sink or swim and will remain infectious until things work their way out. If they remain a carrier of the virus, it is worse then, because they will continue to be a threat to be around. They may become reinfected and then repeat the situation where they are a biohazard for a period of time and help keep this drama going. That is a high price to pay for being out of divine alignment and neglecting the cultivation of their spiritual side and losing faith in God, and in the process becoming disconnected and vulnerable. We have the power to make any miracle happen, But if there is already a miracle underway in launching the divine human community to have the privileges and rewards both of free will and free agency, we cannot override the rules of engagement and undercut human free will by doing a last-minute save. That would be a violation of authority and would negate the whole meaning of the enterprise. It would not be your victory if we did this for you. It is not different than sending your child off to school, but then at the 11th hour when they're about to fail a final exam, you show up and give answers to them they have not earned and not learned so they can pass the test and graduate. But then what would that mean? If they have a distinction they truly failed to earn, but only did it through the help of a higher power. We want people to have the best of both, to not only survive and thrive unhindered and unencumbered, unafraid and unhurt by the living things around them. We want them to be strong enough and to use every resource at their disposal, including reaching out to the divine to tackle the biggest problems they are unable to solve on their own. That is the true test of their authority and their intelligence and wisdom, to cultivate a higher awareness that the divine is real and accept and promote inner faith. They have the standing to ask for divine assistance. That is not a weakness, but a strength, and will bring many, many rewards.
You know, what kind of jumped out at me was the first part of this channeling, where creators, suggested a lot of people question the motives of the divine, and I think that is that's a big consideration. What is the motive of God sitting back and allowing this to happen, so to speak? That's confusing for a lot of people.
Yes, and we talk about that on a fairly regular basis. That is the characteristic of the free will realm we inhabit.
Yes.
That bad things can happen, but then it's up to us to deal with them. That is why we're totally free to come and go, make our own choices, and live with them. And one of the things that's befallen this realm, this free will zone, is evil.
Yes.
Evil has moved in, the darkness has moved in, dark spirits and dark extraterrestrial beings. And that is the reason this is happening. So we need divine help because they're ahead of us. They're elusive, they're hidden from view, and they have a more advanced technology at their disposal. And they commandeer the dark spirits, the ETs, and make the dark spirits worse than they would be. And yes, together, the two of them are doing a number on us right now.
Yeah, there's no quick answers. That's why we're dealing with this from many different facets, because the lack of trust in God or the lack of faith can have, many, many causes. And so we're examining this from many, many angles to try to really understand all this.
Yes.
You asked Creator, Carl, do worry and adverse expectations by an individual about contracting COVID-19 lessen the chances of success of a targeted Lightworker Healing Protocol session?
The worriers. And they worry about the problem of worrying, don't they?
Yes.
Well, welcome to being human.
I'm guilty too,
We all have our moments.
Yes.
All right, so does worrying lessen the success of a healing through the Lightworker Healing Protocol? And Creator tells us this is not the case. Because if there is a lack of belief in that individual, so they feel they are vulnerable and cannot trust in the divine to keep them safe, they will be motivated to seek a practitioner to be their advocate. And that is the great virtue of the Lightworker Healing Protocol and its practitioners, because they are compassionate and devoted lightworkers seeking the betterment of humanity and eager to help those in need with all manner of life difficulties they face. So such a person is not without resources, because that is what help is for. Having someone to assist you who does have 100% belief in the divine and a belief in themselves as worthy of calling forth a divine intervention is no different than going to a doctor or lawyer who has requisite training, resources, and expertise to bridge a gap in one's own capability. And that will make up for any shortcomings of the potential victim who may be struggling to not become overwhelmed by their fear and in a weakened state accordingly.
So this is a very important endorsement for engaging a practitioner of Lightworker Healing Protocol because, hey, we all struggle with belief. We all struggle with trust in the divine. And if you're in the situation where you're really in need, oftentimes you're much more willing to gamble on a alternative approach to healing than you would be when things are going well. And right now, there's a lot of that going around. So to be able to engage a Lightworker Healing Protocol to make up that gap is a big opportunity for people.
Absolutely. And it's something that can work a miracle.
Yes.
This isn't medical advice. This is separate. This is complementary. It's an addition, an additional resource, but it can be a major benefit. And why not use it if it's available? It's no different than personal hygiene. Yeah. We're talking about spiritual hygiene in a sense, scrubbing off the work of the darkness and keeping a protective force around you that actively seeks to remove potential sources of harm to keep you safe and protected. That's the best way to go about staying safe, is to have a divine spirit team looking out for you and clearing the way ahead so you don't encounter the virus. It's Absolutely. Removed in your path. And then you're safe without realizing it, but it can work.
And if you have your own doubts, you engage somebody who doesn't, and that makes all the difference. And that's something anybody can do at any time. You, as creator, another key operation of Lightworker Healing Protocol is the conferring of divine protection above and beyond basic life support. Can creators share how this can work for both believers and non-believers alike in conferring protection from COVID-19?
All right, and this is what Creator tells us. The secret to understanding why prayers work and why they may not is appreciating there is an energetic equation in play that depends on the belief quotient of the person launching the prayer. Both belief in the divine and belief in themselves as worthy and deserving of a divine intervention. When belief is shaky or absent, that person will be on their own and will be, in effect, cut off through their own decision to be out of divine alignment as a result of disbelief. The flow of love and light will continue for them at a basal level to keep them breathing and their heart beating, that life force energy that is critical. But beyond that, the person will be on their own and quite vulnerable to all manner of difficulties. Many people who have drifted away from religion may return to prayer in desperation or seek a spiritual healer as a last resort, having tried everything else and may be in a great state of fear and desperation, and at that point will try anything. That is, unfortunately, quite a state of weakness and a poor platform to request divine help because it is all a matter of energy. If the energy of the requester is weak and uncertain, the healing provided will be weak and uncertain, as it is governed by that individual's limitations, as they are in charge of what happens, not the Almighty. That is how the world is designed to work. You knew this coming down into your incarnation, but then were born into a world of ignorance and are needing to play catch-up with your understanding of how the divine realm works and the responsibilities of human in interacting with the divine. But this is why people go to pastors and to priests and to imams to get extra help when they're in a spiritual crisis or having a desperate situation and are seeking divine help but feel inadequate to do this on their own. A practitioner of the Lightworker Healing Protocol is an excellent resource because they excel in bridging the gap in getting divine requests on behalf of anyone. When healing is done through a practitioner of the LHP, that practitioner acts as a living bridge with one hand holding creators and the other hand holding the clients. And the healing will pass from creator through the practitioner to the client, and back again in the form of a circuit of energy. It is the provision of a belief quotient that makes this circuit happen and can make all the difference in getting divine help for people who otherwise might still suffer on their own, not knowing why and how to fix it.
Again, this is reiterating the same point, but more powerfully, that if you struggle with your own belief in your ability to deliver miracles for yourself through your own prayer work, you have an alternative. You can actually reach out to having a Lightworker Healing Protocol session done for you. And if a practitioner is doing it for you, all those encumberments of your own belief don't come into play. It's totally the belief system of the practitioner that comes into play. So it's a great workaround.
Yes, and the way it works is that when you have two people working on a problem with the divine, in this case, a client in need, maybe in a state of fear, maybe symptomatic already, but just fearing this is happening. Maybe they have someone they know they've been in contact with, or a family member who is stricken with this infection, and they're wondering what's next for them, whatever the case may be. Their belief quotient, if it's meager, will have added to it the belief quotient of the practitioner coming to help them. And that will get them over the top of this belief quotient requirement. All you need is for the respective quotients to add up to 100 or more, and you're in. And that requirement, at least, will be met. And then healing can happen, or protection can be bestowed. So it is indeed a backstopping and a wonderful adjunct. We're supposed to be helping one another. Don't forget, we're members of a human family. So you don't have to be shy about this. You can reach out. And that's what Get Wisdom is for. That's what we've been doing since day one. Bringing information forward to remind people about the reality of the divine, that it's there as our birthright to help us. And we can become greater than we think in partnering with the divine. And this is a good example.
Well, we're not reinventing the wheel here, Carl.
No.
As Creator says, this is the reason that many people have approached clergy and holy people in the past to help them overcome their own deficiencies. So we're not inventing this dynamic, but we are trying to bring it back to people's attention again.
Well, and the whole idea of religion has kind of developed into something of its own making, its own creation that needs care and feeding. It's kind of an institution.
Right.
And it builds edifices that glory in the institution. But when it comes down to the reality of things, there's you and there's God.
Right.
And you are cut from the same cloth. You're an extension of Creator's consciousness, for goodness sake. You don't have to get a spiritual feel or spiritual standing by going and worshiping at a shrine or interacting with a formal religion. That's all well and good, and it can be uplifting, and people coming together in prayer is a powerful thing. But you can often do as much on your own, because you may learn from us how to do it in a better way, in a more effective way. And that's the problem with religion. It's kind of been corrupted a bit, and it's falling short in helping people with ways that are truly effective. It diverts a lot of people. It diminishes them maybe many times.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. It's supposed to be a means to an end, not necessarily an end in itself. And you're absolutely right. The point of the whole thing is your relationship with the divine. And the divine doesn't need a new roof. And the divine doesn't have to pay mortgages.
That's right. Well, and the thing is, when you need something personally, if you're passive and just assume God's going to take care of it, or because you're a good evangelical Christian or a Catholic or what have you, that you're fine, you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
Because what matters is what you do personally with your energy, with your very thoughts from moment to moment.
Yes.
And if you're out in the world, you're at risk for lots of things going wrong. And if you're not thinking about the divine and asking for help and guidance, healing and protection on a routine basis, you're going to be more vulnerable. It's just that simple because you're not asking your bodyguard to go along with you.
Indeed. We'll be talking more about this when we come back. Welcome back for the final segment of Get Wisdom. We are looking at creators sharing with us how the Lightworker Healing Protocol can assist with, the coronavirus epidemic. It's a very, very important topic. Carl, you asked creator, we know that spirit reinfection is a problem with some individuals with the COVID-19 virus, even after the successful removal of earlier parasites with the Lightworker Healing Protocol, necessitating further LHP intervention. So let me rephrase that. We know that the spirit reinfection, because we have spirit attachments, spirit reinfection is a problem with some individuals, even after the successful removal of earlier parasites with the Lightworker Healing Protocol, necessitating further LHP intervention. Will this likely be the same with the COVID-19 virus, suggesting the strong need for repeated sessions and repeated prayer work?
All right, and Creator tells us there are many parallels here. This particular epidemic will be especially troubling in that regard because there will be carriers of the virus produced, and people who have acquired and recovered from infection will be vulnerable to reinfection once again. And this could take place multiple times, causing increasing injury with each go-round. Under such circumstances, there needs to be ongoing vigilance, ongoing protection requested, and the requests repeated and reinforced at intervals to create the highest state of vigilance. This is simply another energetic equation in play. It is analogous to the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Those who make repeated prayer requests are already on record wanting a service, and to have that reinforced will simply keep it going with the greatest level of intention and will be acted on in proportion to that energetic investment by having many prayers launched. This is a simple math equation. If you pray for something once, you will get less benefit than someone who prays for the same blessing each and every day. It is not that you are a lesser person. It is that your free will is determining everything that happens in important ways. A single request with no follow-up for reinforcement to keep the intention going and on record with the divine is a weaker request overall than someone who is asking again and again through a kind of vigilance and taking personal responsibility to not only be steadfast, but open and aware to possibilities of harm coming their way and taking action to do whatever they can. As there is no ready solution as yet other than divine intervention, in whatever ways a human can withdraw and quarantine themselves from human contact to prevent an infection, it only makes sense to pray early and often, as this will add power of intention to what is wanted and will make a difference.
So again, a big endorsement to use prayer to really try to address this problem for yourself and for your loved ones. Because, withdrawing and quarantining, this is kind of the government's approach to dealing with this, and it can be effective, But if we want to get beyond that, we're going to have prayer because we want this thing gone. We don't want to have to live in social distancing for the rest of our natural lives. That would not be good, Carl.
No. And again, we're not inventing something new here. This is really the same as the admonition in the scriptures that God helps those who help themselves. You need to be active in partnering with the divine.
Yes. You asked Creator, we are learning that COVID-19 can do long-term damage to multiple organs such as lungs, heart, liver, and testicles in males. We know a timely Lightworker Healing Protocol session can help to prevent these problems, but can it be used to actually repair these problems, which many survivors will be struggling with?
All right, and this is what Creator says. The damage to the organs caused by this virus, even with survivors, can be further healed with requests to the divine. The Lightworker Healing Protocol is ideally suited for this because it is designed to bring deep healing and repair by including all the karmic entanglements that create a state of vulnerability in the person to begin with, that bring about susceptibility to illness and will govern survivability also. Those key factors are directly involved in determining whether infection takes place and then how a person fares, whether their body was little injured or there was grave injury to one or more organs. Their personal karmic history will have a large bearing on these factors because it will determine their relative vulnerability and ability to repair damage that is inflicted. This is a major factor in the individual variation seen, where some people exposed to the virus will remain completely asymptomatic, and others will be brought to the brink of death or perhaps killed, despite all medical attempts to save them. The fact that pre-existing conditions are a further risk factor for having difficulty with acquiring this virus is simply a reflection of underlying karmic consequences and the vulnerability and alterations in the makeup of the body responding to the karmic liabilities present. So the Lightworker Healing Protocol can make a critical difference in allowing people to not only survive, but recover greater health and well-being that would be the case if left on their own without divine help.
I think the underlying message here, though, Carl, is indeed an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So,
absolutely.
Because it's like anything else, if you get in an automobile accident, you can get it repaired, but it's going to take time and expense. And repairing damage after you've, had the coronavirus is possible through divine work, through the Lightworker Healing Protocol, through intensive prayer work. But it's a lot easier to prevent it to begin with.
Yes, and that's true across the board. We've been told this many times. It's easier to prevent an illness than to heal it. It's just the nature of the beast.
Indeed. Carl, you asked Creator, many are already saying that COVID-19 is God's punishment for humanity's sinfulness. Can Creator take this opportunity to address this accusation?
All right, and Creator says, this is a most unfortunate and gross distortion of the nature of the divine. God never punishes anyone. People punish themselves and those around them through their own choices to be ignorant, to be selfish, to be thoughtless and neglectful. And the consequences of those human choices are what will govern the future of the self and those influenced by the self. Humans are in a contest for survival with interlopers bringing evil to the earth. You cannot take them on directly. You do not have the wherewithal. You must get the help of the divine to deal with the dilemma. You can hide for a time, but eventually the toll will mount, and even if it does not result in total human annihilation, it will be a sad and desperate world that worsens all along the way. If you reach out to the divine in earnest with a sincere desire from the heart to have this scourge removed, the divine will act. That is not the question. The question truly here is, will you act? Will you launch prayers? Will you launch prayers that can be effective because they incorporate the highest and best intentions with specificity about what is most needed and will be the greatest benefit? This many see as a kind of punishment as well. We see it being as much an opportunity as a liability because it is through tackling adversity, learning its destructiveness, and ways to counter it that will springboard humanity into a higher plane of existence where the knowledge and experience gained from facing the challenges currently will end in triumph. That is no punishment, but rather a divine blessing of the greatest magnitude.
So we see in this message again, over and over again throughout this project and with all the many shows we've done, we are not here just to mark time. We're not here to take Hawaiian vacations and just enjoy our family and live a pleasant life. That's not the purpose of our being here. And that Creator has us here for a specific purpose. And that's why this is a free will zone, and we're attempting to learn the lessons here. This is something that people really need to think about.
Absolutely. It can be mission critical.
Indeed. You asked Creator, can Creator take this opportunity to give some words of encouragement to our audience who are facing this grave global epidemic threatening humanity?
Creator tells us, indeed we can, and are delighted you are asking. From the rules of engagement, we are not allowed to lead, ironically, and this creates many times of awkwardness when people look to the divine for answers, but only hear silence, not realizing we cannot tell you what to do or how to go about it unless you ask us directly and specifically for information. That again is because it is your responsibility to solve your problems and run your lives. But even with those burdens and responsibilities, you can know you are all deeply, deeply loved and cared about. We created each and every one of you to be exactly who you are. You may or may not be at your best in the current life and how you are expressing your soul. That is of little concern to us on a long-term basis because we know you will bounce back from the difficulties of the current life and will learn and grow and prosper and advance and grow to new heights of understanding, awareness, and capability through endless possibilities for advancement and will delight again and again with many successes to come in future times. Keep in mind that you are immortal, regardless of what happens to humanity. You cannot be destroyed, and for this reason, there are no truly big problems. You will see your loved ones in another life if you lose this one, or they become infected and die young. You will have reunions with them, and you will have other lifetimes with them if you choose. The future possibilities for you are endless and varied. So even though you might feel mired in a true dilemma of unpleasantness and uncertainty, you will get beyond this eventually, and you will learn and grow from it and be all the stronger for having faced it and overcome it. This is a challenge as well as an opportunity, but you were made for greatness. You were made to be special. You were made to be part of the divine. And that is your lineage and your heritage. You are stronger, better, and more powerful than you realize. You will always be a part of us, and we cherish your existence. You have a great gift to be and do whatever you choose. Our wish for you is that you will choose to partner with us in keeping with your true origin and reason for existence. And together we will do great things.
So once again, Creator is inviting us to see this as more of a challenge to use for our own growth and advancement, rather than seeing it as a total scourge. And that's probably a very healthy way to look at this thing.
Well, and it's an exercise in divinity.
Yes.
An invitation to use your divinity, to live your life in every respect, and especially when you've got a tough problem that can affect the entire enterprise and the entire human family. So those who are aware and in touch with that divinity are in a position to act in a way that'll make a difference. It's
definitely an opportunity to inculcate a higher perspective, to look beyond the ordinary day-to-day life that we're living and see the bigger picture. And to look beyond even the end of our own lives. And even look beyond the fate of the human species as a whole. Because Creator has reinforced here, we are eternal beings. We are immortal. And we will survive regardless of what happens. So this is a time to sometimes maybe sit back and think about that a little bit.
Yes. Well, I want to share the prayer Creator has approved for using with the epidemic currently going on. So that's on record in this program. So let me state that really quickly. You can use any word for God you like, dear God, dear Lord, Almighty God, Allah. Each and every day, remove or render harmless all dangerous viruses from myself, my loved ones, and then from all infected beings and the earth as a whole. Apply this prayer again and again as needed to keep everyone safe and restore well-being to the afflicted.
You can get that prayer.
Encapsulates all the different aspects of a powerful prayer intended to cover everyone. There's tricks to this, so you can learn about it, as Brian's going to tell you.
Yes, you can learn about that by downloading our prayer book at getwisdom.com/prayer. Getwisdom.com/prayer. At the very end of that book is the exact prayer that Carl read for you, so it's very easy to acquire. Please go ahead and get that for yourself.
And it explains why it works.
Indeed. We are out of time, Carl. Everybody, be well, and we'll look forward to talking with you again next week.
Have a good week.